friend, was R.L. Miles Jr. R.L. Miles Jr. was another collection we sold around the same period, within a few years of each other, who was also involved with his bank. And because they heard about John Roper's exhibit, they want to have an exhibit. And they built the bank and waited for that to be finished. And then John, he used to be called Skinny Miles. It was R. Lawson Miles, but his nickname was Skinny. So if you didn't call him Skinny, you weren't his friend. When he was young, he played football. And he was a tall, lanky football player. So they always called him Skinny. So that's how his name came. And stuck with him all his life. They were the largest oyster farmers in the Chesapeake Bay. Wow. By the time I got down there the second time to get his brother's collection, they had changed it from 1,000 chuckers opening up and shipping oysters to a machine that centrifuged the oysters after they were caught. They came in on a conveyor belt. They said there was centrifuge. Was spun around, opened up, all right, and went into cans, and then was shipped immediately to Campbell Soup to make Campbell chowder, Campbell oyster. Anyway, he was. But this is how you learn about these people. They come around. He was so he collected that way. He was a champion. What I think they call it, major bridge player, or there's another name for it, where they go by points. They get ranking as how big the bridge players are. He was up near the top group, he and his partner. Unfortunately, Skinny would work so hard, stay up so late at night playing bridge, he occasionally got a little drunk, and he unfortunately fell in a bathtub and he hurt his head. And thank God I was able to help finish the collection selling before he was still alive. But it really was a horrible sight. I mean, this unfortunately lived through that as well. He, at one time, about 4 years before we got the collection for sale, pulled on me a trick that scared the hell out of me, and my wife as well. What did he do? We were in Fort Myers, an exhibit in Fort Myers, Maryland, or Virginia, Fort Myers, Virginia. And there is a naval base there, or an army base there, that is part of our, I guess, the Army Corps or somebody. They own the hotel. The people who were running the convention made it a convention center, a little convention center. That's how they raised a little extra money for the hotel and for the base. So he comes walking in on a Wednesday. We got there Wednesday night, my wife and I. And he calls up, he says, "Are you there?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "I'll be down in an hour." He lived in Norfolk. Drives down in an hour. Comes with a bottle of vodka and a bottle of scotch under his arm. He says, "I don't know if you know, but you're not allowed to buy liquor on the base. Here, if you need some." Well, I'm not really a drinker, but I said, "Thank you very much." I offered him a drink. We had a drink, said the thing together. The next day, he comes down and looks at the exhibit. And here's the egotist of a collector. He walks around, and it was an average dealer's showroom. It wasn't that many large collections on display. Very few displays in the display room. It was, let's say, a local convention, which you see that much. He looks around, he says, "I think there's a little bit," he said, "not really high quality, they're a little junky." He says, "I'll pick you up tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. We're going down to my bank, and I'm going to give you some coins to put on display, so you look important." This is what he said. We had nice coins with us, but I didn't have what he gave to me in boards. They were 8 by 11 boards. A full set of half dimes, mostly mint state or proof. A set of early dimes up to, I think, about 1850. A set of early quarters from 1796 up to, because it takes some more space, I think it was like 1837. This had the type change and all. And half dollars only as far as 1820. That's all you can fit in a board. Gives me the 4 boys, says, "Take it over and put them on display." I said, "How am I going to get back there?" He says, "Very easy. I'll drive you back." So he drives me back. I put him on display, and everybody was jumping. I said, "This got a new consignment." It was bullshit. But, excuse me. But I said, I'm just trying to make everybody a little jealous. everybody was looking at it all back and forth. Now, the agreement, I was supposed to leave at 3 o'clock that afternoon out of Norfolk to go home because Norman was going to wait for me to take any stuff that I brought back into the city, get off the LaGuardia, drive into the city, go into 123, drop off the stuff, and then go home. Because you didn't have anybody around that you could take with you, and go. So now he's supposed to be at the, at the hall no later than 11 o'clock in the morning. If he got there at 8 one morning, why can't he go at 11? Let's be honest about it. And being in the fishing business, they get up early too. Right. So it comes about 10:30, no skinny. Wait till 11 o'clock, no skinny. A quarter after 11, I'm starting to get nervous. Where is he? I called up, and I speak to his wife. Alice, where's Skinny? He's sleeping. I said, he's what? He's supposed to be here down at the hotel. She says, I'll go up and talk to him. Well, either he was tired, played bridge all night, but he was really out. He says to her in a grumpy voice, tell him to take him home with him. A, I wasn't insured for that amount to carry. 2, I had nobody to travel with except my wife. And 3, it was the obvious display that should be stolen. If that is going to be stolen. Well, we packed it up, and one of my friends, who was a European dealer, heard about this. And he says, Harvey, I'm not going to let you go by yourself. So we got into a cab, he and my wife and I, so there was 3 of us. He actually, as a typical spy story, sat on the seat next to us with his head to the back. He was watching the back, that nobody was following us. We took it home, put it in the vault. I called him up the following Monday, first to tell him I got it at home, and then called him the following Monday. I said, Skinny, how do you want me to get this back to you? Should I send it by Brinks? Don't you send me a Brinks truck. You get this kind of an answer. I said, I'll send it to the bank. Don't worry. No, you can't do that. Keep it there. I'll tell you when to bring it back. From that point on, the rest of the collection got to New York. Would you believe? This all started with this discussion about he didn't like the display, and he wanted to show other people what you could collect. Now, yes, it's egotism. It's personal pride. It's whatever you want to call it. But this is the kind of a guys that we were dealing with. In other words, they weren't worried about me. I said, what happens if they're stolen? He says, so it'll be stolen. I mean, not saying you'll pay for it, your insurance company pay. It'll be stolen. I mean, this is the kind of people that you run into during your lifetime. And that's why I say it's hard to say which sale gave you more pleasure, which collection gave you more pleasure. Yes, the greatest pleasure I ever had to be personally involved with Norman, my uncle and my father, primarily. And late in the day, a little bit later, Larry knew about it, but he didn't see the guy, was the Lily collection.